To review, I'll run the app again and see where we are with our animation so far. So we have our pulsating animation happening. There's a small bug in our application right now. If we go back to our sample animations view, we are doing safe area layout guide. And right now it's not exactly centered because we do not have two bars. Everybody with me? We only have a bottom bar right now, so it's not exactly centered of the device. Everybody? So go ahead and remove that safe area height here and run the app again. And there's no glitch. Did we see that? There's no glitch between the height of my Y. Exactly. Everybody notice that? Again, it's like one of the things like your eye with a designer, they would catch it right away. Like, hey, it's moving a pixel high. But our safe area, there was no top bar. So our safe area dot center high, center Y, was pushing our view up a little bit.
Wait, what did you change?
I removed the safe area guide on the center Y.
On the center Y? Oh, the awkward thing when I didn't have it there in the first place. Mistakes that were.
It's like a quick shift.
I didn't have it there in the first place. Let me put it down. Let me see what it looks like.
Just remove, anywhere you have safe area, just remove it from your code. Okay, cool. So we have that animation working. Awesome. Let's create the next animation here. Since we're working around with animations, having fun, let's go to... Let's create a view. I slacked out the Swift image. Everybody has it? So the Swift image, go ahead and add it to your assets folder. Where is it? Swift logo. Okay, so we have our Swift logo in here. And let's go to our sample animation view and add a next image. For purposes of time, you could just go ahead and copy your Pursuit logo, change it to Swift logo. And all that is the same, minus this is Swift logo. Aspect fit is the same. If you're doing this more than, like ideally you should have a function here. Like if you catch yourself copy pasting, write a function for it. Everybody? Everybody, right? Because the only thing we change in here is the name. If you catch yourself doing that multiple times, write a function that returns you some image. And right? Cool. All right, so let's keep going. We have our Swift logo, and we're doing something very similar here. Just copy this. And this is setup Swift logo. Constraints, add Swift logo. Swift logo here. Swift logo are all the same. Yeah, we'll hide it. What are we going to do? We're going to go for an effect where we animate the Pursuit logo. When it's done, we won't do the repeat animation anymore. We'll go back to the scale animation. After that's over, we'll add the Swift logo, yeah. Getting fancy. So we're going back to our Swift logo here. One difference is we'll say image view that is hidden. We'll start it off by making it hidden. So is hidden is true. Is hidden is true on the Swift logo. And when the pursuit animation scale is over, we'll change the hidden property to false. And remember to call setup Swift logo constraints. Where did I? Right here is hidden. Before we do that, I also want to verify it shows up because I don't want to go further without it showing up. So comment out the is hidden for now to confirm that it does show before we move forward. Right? So just confirm that it does show. Everybody? Okay. So it confirms that it shows, then you could go back and hide it. And now it should be hidden. It's hidden. Great. Can we continue on? Can we continue? Okay, let's go back to our controller. And where are we now? So we won't pulsate anymore. We'll scale. We'll go back to scale. We'll confirm it still scales. Right? It still scales. That still works. We'll go to our scale animation. Scale animation, where are you? Right here. I'm in it. Cool. What do we want to do? So what do we want to do? So after the animation is done, we want to have some sort of completion block. So we'll actually refactor what we just had here. So it scales up. When that's done, in our completion block, we'll set the Swift property to is hidden to false. Everybody? So it shows back my Swift logo, and on that we'll have some animation. Okay? So let's go ahead and copy the two lines, or copy the two lines, 48 and 49. Go ahead and cut it. Command X, and we're redoing this animation block. We want the one with the completion block. So we'll say UI view dot animate with completion block. It's okay if the option comes up, that's fine. Interval is 0.3, delay is 0, options empty, animations, and then we'll put back our animation here. We just upgraded our animation block. We were using animate with duration, that's it. We went one step further because we want to do some more animation in our completion. We want to know when our animation is done. Everybody with me? If you want to know when your animation is done, you use UI view animate with completion. Everybody? Yes? I'm right here. Knight Rider.
Are we inside?
Turbo boost.
Are we inside a function right now?
A what?
What function are we inside right now?
The function in here. Oh, in the video load, you mean?
Oh, we're in the video load right now, right?
No. We're in the scale animation block.
Okay.
The scale animation function.
What is the done?
Some variable name. You could say done, you could say complete, you could say result. Basically, it's a completion. It expects a variable name. It expects a variable name. Very similar to like when we have our completion block and it has result type, we say result. Yeah. Okay, let's verify it still works before we do anything else. Still works. So done gets called, or here, after animation gets called after animation gets called after animation is done. After initial animation, after gets called after initial animation is done. Okay. Cool. Let's go over to our image view for the Swift logo and edit something. So Swift logo, one more edit. Right here we'll say image view dot clip to bounds. So basically, clip to bounds, what it does, it will confine, or if we want to make it a circle, it won't allow the view to go beyond the circle. So we want to say clip to bounds equal true. So if we want to make a circle, like we want to make our Swift logo a circle, we say image view, please do not go beyond my circle. Okay? So make sure in our Swift logo here, we say clip to bounds, set to true, and let's go back to our controller. Okay, so here let's do some animation. We'll start off by saying UI view dot animate. Do I want anything else? Options. Okay, we'll just use animate with duration here. And then we'll say 0.3. And I'll say self dot samples view dot Swift logo dot is hidden. Don't forget to show it. It's false. So we show it, right? Because remember, we made it hidden when we initialized it. And then we'll say self dot sample Swift logo dot layer dot corner radius equal to sample image view dot Swift logo dot bounce dot size dot width divided by 2. Who's complaining? Don't I have self? I have self. Build.
Self and that layer is equal to its own round.
1 second. Reference to
It was a
sample.
self drag, that's why it says it's a self.
But I have, oh, I thought I had, yeah. When my screen is that big, I don't see anything. Okay, what are we doing here? We set it back to show, right? So we said is hidden is false, show my view. Then I want to animate my corner radius. Things we could animate, I'll come right back. Things we could animate here. We could animate corner radius on a layer. Where am I? Corner radius here. We could animate a lot of things. We'll come back to it. So we could animate the corner radius. Right here, I could animate the border width. If I go down to say view that layer, I could say view that layer, border color, animate yourself. I could say view that layer, corner radius, animate. Everybody with me? So you could go down one level from the view to the layer to animate what you want to animate. Okay? Did I slack this one out? This one as well? I slacked this one out. Do you have this one? The things I'm slacking, please bookmark them because sometimes it's harder to find it, right? Like when you're trying to find what you could animate. Just like have your animation folder of stuff and your bookmarks of stuff there. So make sure that you have this is CA layer, right? CA layer. Every view has a layer. Remember? Every view has a layer. When we want to make it round, we go to the layer, correct? The view itself cannot make itself round. We have to go to the layer. And on the view, those are the things we could animate on the view. Did I slack this one out? Okay, cool. So we have frame, bound, center, transform. Transform is awesome. I use it all the time. I love it. Alpha is great. Background color, right? Those things are very popular. So we have, on the view, you have animatable properties. On the layer, we have way more things we could do. Cool? All right, so going back to Tanya here. Where are you? You in the completion block? The what? Oh, okay, cool. That's what I'm talking about, peer sharing here. Okay, let's run it and see what's happening. Woo, look at that. That was fast. What's that, sorry? Bounce, what am I? I'm just trying to get to the width of the view, basically. A square? if you have a square and the diameter of the square is 20, and you want to make that square a circle, you would take half of the square, 10. So that's basically what we're doing there. So we're saying half of your width, make that the corner radius, that creates a circle. Cool? If you don't have circle, that means you haven't done the clip to bounds. You missed that step probably right here, where we said clip to bounds on 25.
Yeah.
It's a little too fast. We'll make it slower.
Can you go there?
We'll make it slower. And then I'll show you guys something called curves and stuff, like the Bezier curve, like how quickly it animates and stuff. Do you have that line 25? Okay. Do you get your circle? Do you have the block in the animation block here? Do you have this line? Do you see your view? When you run it, what happens? Oh, you have the pulsating one. That's fancy. You call in the pulsating as opposed to the, look at your, you have an animation, it's pulsating. So what do you have going on? Look at your view did load here. We scale animation, we're not pulsating anymore. And then you probably put your code in the pulsating block as opposed to the scale animation block. That's what happened.
Can you go back to your scale?
Go back to my scale.
Yeah.
Down here, you mean?
Yeah, so we will do that one.
Yeah, go ahead. A what? It's in Slack.
No, like I have everything here, but it's not. You have it, it's hidden.
The pulsating is not happening right now.
Where you have it set for like 1.5. I can't remember.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing anything.
Something.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not. This is not showing where the sample view is supposed to be equal. You got sample view delta corner radius is equal to. And it don't matter what's in the pulsating, because I'm not calling that.
One second. I will, for purposes of time, I will slack this out here, which gives us exactly where we are. Code snippet. Swift. Boom. Bim. Bim. What is this one? Sample animations. Animations. GC. Okay, there we go. Whoa. The line roared, huh? I slacked out the view controller, right? Are you good? Is yours good?
It's not working, but I have everything you have.
I slacked out the VC, and do we need the view as well?
The image is showing, but it's showing not in a circle.
The image is showing. Does it animate?
So,
Does it animate your view? I slacked out the VC, so paste it into what you have.
just paste it.
Which part you want to see, Mel? We did, let's go back here. This is what we just did.
Yeah, and that's loading the scale animation.
Yeah. You want me to go up here? This is scale animation. Yeah, just circle. That's it. So what we have here is, it would be nice to just shake it and load it again, but this is what we have. We have, when it blows up, it just makes a circle.
Image we got clips to balance equal true.
Yes.
And it's still scale aspect fit.
Scale aspect fit, yeah. That's what I have. Scale aspect fit, yeah. Okay, the only thing we'll change here for now is make it a bit slower. So I'll say half a second. I'll make half a second.
And the constraints that you have were exactly the same.
Exactly the same, we just changed the names of them. What's that, Mel?
No, it was just saying it was deep.
Oh. For the what?
You do a height anchor for the Swift logo?
There's no height. Well, yeah, the height, sorry. The height is equal to the width.
So it should be Swift logo dot with me.
Yeah, the height is equal to the width. Julia, was yours working? Okay, cool. Oscar?
It's getting like a black screen after like it loads. Like it was loading before now.
Do you have a color for your view controller?
Yeah, I did. It was working with the one before. Like the animations were working.
Which one are you running? You're running the scale animation, right? Okay. Leave that for now. We're going to go off to the constraints.
Okay.
Anybody who has extra issues with the animations will help after the fact. Cool? I'll help you guys after the lecture. Anybody having extra issues there? Okay, let's go off to our constraints animation. Let's go off to our constraints animation. And for that one, we'll use a storyboard. For the second view controller, we'll use a storyboard. Okay? So the second view controller, our second tab, will create constraints-based animation. Okay? You animate with constraints, right? So the constraints is what you're animating exactly. So we'll create a storyboard file, we'll set up our views, and then we'll go on from there. Okay. So let's go off to our storyboard, or create a storyboard rather. New file. New file. It's a storyboard file. New file, storyboard file. And we'll name it constraints animation. We call it constraints animation. We clicked on create. And we have our storyboard. Okay? It's blank canvas. We have nothing there. We'll add in a view controller scene. We'll add in a view controller scene. So view controller. We'll add in a view controller scene. Okay? Next, we'll go ahead and we'll add in a stack view. So I search for stack view. I will add in a horizontal stack view. So horizontal stack view. Drag it over. Somewhere here, it's fine. And drag this guy here. So I have a stack view.
You said a horizontal over.
Horizontal stack view. And let's go ahead and get a UI button. I'll get a button over here. Give it some size. Give it some color. Okay. I'll leave that button here for now, and I'll constrain my stack view. So my stack view, I click on my stack view. I go to add new constraints. I say I want my stack view to be 20 leading, 20 trailing, and I'll make it 20 to the bottom here. And the height, we'll make the height say 100. Well, it's too big. We'll make it 44. So 20 leading, 20 trailing, 20 from the bottom, and the height of the stack view is 44 points. Yeah. We'll actually drag it up a little bit higher. I think that's too close here. We'll make it higher. We'll go to the size inspector and change the bottom alignment. Change the bottom alignment from 20 to say 100 points. Oh, sorry. Okay, that's better. We'll play with that number later. So here I want two buttons. I'll I'll option click, get a second button, and I'll drag it into my stack view. Let me get some space here, stack view. And I'll drag my second button into my stack view. Come on. Okay, cool. So we have two buttons in our stack view. Now we'll go ahead and we'll set up the alignment of the stack view. We'll click on our stack view. We'll go to our attribute inspector. Two buttons. Okay, so we'll say spacing. We'll make the spacing on it, say 40. And we'll make distribution, say, equally. So fill equally here. And that's about it here. Nothing fancy. So the stack view, it's horizontal. The axis is horizontal. Alignment says fill it from top to bottom. Distribution, we filled it equally. And the spacing is the spacing we have between it here. Great. This one, we'll change the title of it to say up. And the second, we'll change the title to say down. Yes? with the stack view,
Yeah, I don't know, choose different streets for the first button, and it's not
aligning. Okay, Aaron, can you double check the stack view? Thanks.
Wait, for the stack view, you said the distribution was.
The district, let me go back to it. So distribution,
Fill equal.
distribution fill equally, alignment fill. So Aaron, that's the default of our stack view. We have axis is horizontal. The constraints for the stack view was 20, 20 leading and trailing. The bottom was 100, well minus 100, and spacing 40. And we have 2 buttons in there. It doesn't have a color. You could give it a view that takes in the whole thing and give that a background color. I gave it minus 100 points for the bottom constraint. Okay, let's verify before we move forward. What do we want to do here? Oh, we have some more code to write. Look at that. We got to write some more code. Let's go back to our tab controller. Go back to our tab controller class, because now this guy has a storyboard file. Before we go there, let's actually give it an ID. Go back to the storyboard file, sorry. Go back to our constraints animation storyboard. Let's give IDs. So click on your view controller. Click on your view controller. Our class, we have a class that manages this. What's it called? Constraints, right? That's good. And we'll copy the class name and we'll paste it into storyboard. So make sure you change the class name for this scene to be constraints animations, and also make sure you have a storyboard ID. Aaron, just put 2 buttons there for now. Instead of the stack view, if it's giving trouble there, just put 2 regular buttons, and then we'll continue later. Okay, we'll come back to that view, but for now, let's just make sure our correct view is loaded. So go back to the tab controller subclass. Tab controller subclass. Who's walking me through this? I'm gonna actually go ahead and redo this. Who's walking me through this? What am I doing? Right now, we created a storyboard file for that class, right? If I say what we had before, right? Actually, let's run it and let's see if we actually will get what we want to get. I run my app as we have it. I click on my second view controller. I have a red view. Where's my buttons, right? We created our storyboard. We're trying to get our storyboard buttons. We don't see our storyboard buttons. What can we do to fix this? Look at our notes. We've done this before. Yes, we have to instantiate it with the identifier. So we did that on Friday, right? So now we need to get an instance from storyboard. This is in the scheduler app where we got the instance from the storyboard. So here we need to get an instance of the storyboard. Just that particular, the second tab, just the second tab, because we created a storyboard file. All right, so what are we doing? Walk me through it. What's the syntax for getting the storyboard? To be fair, we have one extra step which we did this week. Right now, we don't have a main storyboard, right? But we did something this week to get that storyboard. How do we get that storyboard? Yes, Cassandra? I register it, right? Or I get, in that case, we'll say constraints, what's it called? Constraints animation or constraints animation storyboard equal to UI storyboard, as Cassandra says here, instantiate it from the name that we created. What is the name that I put in here? We created a storyboard file earlier. What is the name that I put into my string? Constraints, animation, right? So here we put in constraints, animation. Make sure it's spelled correctly here. And where's that name coming from? That name is coming from the name of our storyboard file right here. We called it constraints animation. You don't put in constraints view controller, it won't find it. You don't put constraints animation storyboard, it won't find it. You put in constraints animation, okay? Great. So far, so good. Okay. So we have the storyboard. What's the next step? On the storyboard, I'll say instantiate, thank you very much, with some ID. We have the ID. And here we'll say guard. We'll say guard. Let view controller equal to, okay? And here we cast it to the type. What type am I casting it to? To the type we expect. And here we put a fiddle error saying could not load this. There's a lot of moving parts to programming, and knowing at least the pieces we need is important, or the why. Like earlier, we created 2 instances of view controllers. The 2 instances wasn't code, they were not coming from storyboard. Now we want to get an instance which we just created in storyboard. How do we get to that instance? We need to get the storyboard that's related to it. This is the storyboard, right? Next, we use that storyboard instance to get to the view controller. Okay, so 2 steps. So step 1, get instance of storyboard. Last Friday it was straightforward because we had storyboard instance which was main, right? Main was associated to our info plist, so all what we said was storyboard.instantiate. But if you created your own storyboard, you have to get it using the name that you created. Step 2, instantiate view controller from storyboard file or from storyboard instance. And at this point, we have our view controller. Awesome. And we cast it, right? We want to make sure that we cast it to the view controller we expect.
So I put a like an underscore in my name. That doesn't matter.
Underscore.
And then when I make my storyboard.
Oh, you put an underscore? You'd have to put the underscore in the string as well. Okay. But be careful not to use underscores, like use comma case or whatever there. No underscore spaces. It just makes it harder. Okay, let's fire it up. Let's see what we have. We might have crashes where the names are not correct. Like right now, my tab bar is not there. But my view shows up. Yeah, the tab item is gone. We need to fix that. We We could fix that right on here. Let's do view controller. Does everybody have their two buttons show up? Yes?
Are you not putting it in the else statement?
Where am I? I'm in the else statement. Thank you, sir. Without you, where would I be? View controller here, tab bar item. And tab bar item is what? UI tab bar item. And here, what do we have? We have, what's the title? Constraints animation? And image is UI image.
Oh, that's right.
And system name, what do we say here? Two dot circle, and tag is 1, right? Cool. Let's run it again, see what we have. Okay, we have our tab bar item back, we have our animation back, and all that stuff is good. Very good? Yes. Those crashes comes from names, right? Either your name for your storyboard is incorrect, right? There's a couple names we have here. We have a constraint animation, which comes from the storyboard name. And then we have the storyboard ID, which comes from the storyboard scene file.
The storyboard name is the file name.
Yes, the file name. They should just call the thing file name, right? Okay. Double check Chelsea's computer, Aaron, when you get a sec.
That probably is it, because I have put my storyboard ID instead of the name of the controller.
Mel, your hands are up, yes.
Yes, it's saying that.
You don't have what? Those are names. Those are names. Those come from names. Those errors, we have to get used to fixing those errors. So if you have a storyboard name, see exactly what it says. Like it will tell you storyboard not found with name. Okay. Taking so long? It will get there. Okay, how we doing? Do we have our buttons showing up? Oh, we should make the animation just happen all the time, right? When we go back to the view. It will be a little annoying, but... Huh? Yeah, it will be annoying, but it's okay. Just call both of them, right? Okay, let's set that up. Everybody, go to your sample animations controller. Go to your sample animations controller. And in view did appear, let us get this scale animation out of here and call it in view will appear. Super view will appear. View will appear gets called every time we go back to the view. So we'll recall our animation here. What's it called? Scale animation. We might have to reset some things too. So reset scale animation. We moved it to view will appear. Let's come back to it. Doesn't animate. We need to fix that. You know what? I'll come back to that. We'll come back to fixing that. I don't want to derail what we're doing. We'll come back and we'll fix it if we have time. Right now we have 30 more minutes to go. So let's work with constraints, then we'll come back and make that animation always work when we come back to it. So go back to our storyboard. And yeah, we have a lot more to do here. So go back to your storyboard and get a view. So type in UI view. Type in UI view here. Put a view right here. It's about maybe center. Give it a color. Is it color? Some color. Okay. We'll make it a square and we'll center it. If I want to make this a square and center it, what am I doing, Yulia? So So start off with align, right? Start off with alignment. So you say align horizontally and vertically, correct? Okay. Mel, what else am I doing if I want to make a square here? I want to make a square such that the width is 50% of the width of the device. Control within itself. Control to the device, right? Okay. And then I'll select equal width, correct? And then after that, May, what am I doing? I want it to be exactly 0.5%. We control drag, we did that part. But right now, it's not exactly 0.5. So where do I go to edit? So I go back to size inspector, correct? And I go ahead and I edit here to 0.5, correct? Okay. And I press enter. Okay. David, I want to make the height of my square the same as the width of my square. What am I doing? Control drag to itself. And what am I selecting? Aspect ratio. And Shania, what am I editing?
Equal height.
So I go to aspect ratio here. And what am I changing? What's the values? 1 to 1. Perfect. And now we have a square. Awesome. Thank you. Okay. Now what I want to do is I want to have a constraint for the Y. I want to have access. The whole point of this particular view here is to have us animate the constraint of it. Right? So when I click on the up button, I want it to go up. When I click on the down button, I want, yeah.
That seems to imply you need to have a constraint in order to animate it.
Yes, exactly. So I need access, as Greg says, I need access to the constraint, right? Very similar to like if I want to change some buttons title, I need an outlet to it. So I need an outlet to that constraint which I want to animate. If I want to animate, say, left to right, I would want the X constraint. If I want to animate up and down, I want some sort of Y constraint. Everybody with me? Right? So all those constraints, all constraints are able to be animated. But first you need access to it in your view controller. Everybody with me? And the way you get access to it in view controller, you control drag. Same as we control drag outlets we've done before. You have access to it, then we could manipulate that constraint with animation. So let's go to our assistant editor. Make sure that your class identity is correct and all that stuff is good. And where am I going to put this? Right here. Let's get access to the Y constraint of the view. We get to the view, we open up, we get to our view, we open up our constraints here. On our view. Okay. Where are we here? So right here, the Y constraint, the view center Y, that's what we're after. Where it says view center Y, do we see that? Okay, that's the one we want to drag. Let me get some space here. So go ahead and control drag from that view Y over to your view controller. And we'll give it a name. I'll call it box Y constraint. Yeah, you want to call it view instead? We'll say box Y constraint, that's fine. Or blue box. I have a blue box. Not to say blue box. Whatever, view Y constraint. We'll go with a minis. That's more generic. Okay, so connect. And we have more things to connect, right? Because right now we have no way to know if the button is selected. Everybody? So we need, each of those needs an action, right? So we need to get an action for each to know what got selected. So let's go ahead and do so. So here we will control drag from our up button over to our view controller. And the type is a UI button. And the name, I'll call it animate up. Or animate view up. Animate view up is a button. And you see that again? You see the touch up inside that we did in code? This is here by default. We see that, right? And then we click connect here. And next up, we have our down button. Control drag, down button.
So these are basically what would happen to that button for this?
Yeah, exactly. Because we have logic to write in there. So type any is button, and what are we doing here? We animate view down, and click connect. And that's about it for this section here. We have actions to our button. We have an outlet to our constraint. So we are good to go. At this point, we could go back to our animation, to our to our constraint animation, and write some code. Let's write some code. Okay. So when I click on the view up, I want it to go up. So what am I changing here? If I want it to go up, what would the value be? Positive, negative? I'm getting conflicting, positive to go up. Negative, right? Negative to go up, positive to go down. So here I will say it. So negative value to move up, and positive value to go down, right? Okay, cool. So what do we want to have? We have access to the view y constraint. We'll get some constant. It will get some constant. For now, we say we want to move up. So we'll say 100, for example. And down here, we say we want to move down. We'll say 100. It's adding to it.
But 100 won't be a lot, or do you want it to be?
We could decrease the height of it as we go. We could decrease the height. For now, we do not have any animations yet, everybody. But let's just test it out to see what's going on. So run it. There's no animations right now. We're just changing the value. Like we adding or we subtracting to the value that's existing already. It should still move. So here, right, the thing is going up, the thing is going down. At this point, we lost it, but we could bring it back up, right? What's that?
But once you put it down to where it's in your way, you can't touch your button. You just have to push your buttons.
Yeah, there's many things you could do there with iOS. It knows when frames are hitting each other. Cool. All right, but the thing is not animating, right? Let's make it animate. Let us make it animate. So here we'll use some UI view animate block. Let's use, that's options, right? Great. Actually, let's use a different one. Animate, I'm gonna play Russian roulette here. Nope. Animate. No, I want the one with spring. Animate spring. There we go. So choose the one, type in UI view that animates spring and press enter. We'll add some spring action to this. So let's go ahead and animate some block here. We'll say duration is 1/3 of a second. Delay, we'll say nothing. Spring animation dampen, we'll say 0.4. Initial velocity, we'll say 5.0. Options, no options for now, empty array. Animations, what we want to actually animate. And here we have nil, because we're not passing in any completion block. And the big part of this animation, with constraints, what you want to animate is the change. What change? When you make a constraint change, let me actually type this in here. So when we change the constraints in iOS, and we need this change to be animated, we only need to animate self.view.layout if needed, and the animation will take place. And then here I'll say layout if needed gets called, or layout if needed will get called as the view is marked dirty by iOS. We implementing self.view.layout if needed will cause the animation. Okay? Awesome. So all what we need to do in our animation block here is say self.view.layout view layout if needed. Okay?
And what,
And let's introduce us to some different curves. So curves is the way, let me start with curves here. We could pass in an option of a curve. Curve is the way the animation happens. There's different curves, there's 4 curves. The curve basically says, as I animate, do I want to slowly end it? Do I want to animate linearly? Meaning I do not want any slow start or fast end or whatever. Like just make it a linear animation, right? There's no abrupt start or slow start to my animation. Is in means slowly start my animation, continue. Is out means slowly end it, right? Like a fade out. Think of those curves as extra tools we have. Like for example, if you're making a video, do you want to just start the video, or do you want to have like a fade in to that video, right? So those are the curves here. There's different curves with different animations you want. So we'll say ease in or ease out. Which ones you guys want to? You could try either one, it doesn't really matter. But linear won't have any action. It will be linear, right? One line. So here we could say curve is in. And let's see what happens. This is only on one animation, right? That's the up animation. So on up animation, let's see what happens, right? Nothing, we could actually change the number. The dumping is not exactly as we want it to be. Do we see like the small spring action?
yeah.
Right? We could change that number right here. We could change the dump factor here. We could get closer to 0. The closer you get to 0, the more bounce effect it's going to have. Let's see what happens here with 3. We should have made it more than 3. Right? Do we see that? Okay. Spring, we could make it more, we could increase the velocity of it, make it faster. The bigger the number, the faster the velocity. Here, down, up. You see that? Do we see that? We increase the velocity, we have more of a bounce, like it's faster the bounce. So again, animation, you just have to play with numbers there with what effect you want. Our down doesn't have an animation right now, but we could add an animation in there as well. To make this faster here, I'll just go ahead and copy this block of animation here and put it into our view down. And view down, we'll keep it the same animation, same ease in. Actually, we'll change ease in to something else. So we'll say curve.
If you make it 1 second instead of 0.3 seconds, you'll actually really see.
Instead of, what's the duration?
For that one, if you make it
0.1?
1.0,
Oh, you mean like 1 second?
you'll really see the bounce. It's already nice.
Okay, so that's where we start playing with numbers. So Tiffany says increase the number to 1, so we really see the effect here. If we go here, right, it actually just slows it down, right? Everybody, right? So the same way we were able to have our constraints up and down, we could have a constraint for X, making it go left and right. Everybody with me, right? But that's one of the fastest ways to really make animations, to have access to the constraint you want, and then you could add constraints on that particular view. Okay? Let's add, let's see. Let's also add some small animation on our buttons. So when we click on it, it kind of like pulsates and it gives some visual feedback of what's going on. And then we'll conclude our lecture. So as I click on the button, yes, go ahead.
So could you put restrictions on
Yes, you could make on restrictions on where the view is. So when the view, like you don't want the view to be above the device, is that what you're saying?
Where would you go to a restriction?
So when the view, like based on, you make some calculation, like when my view height, like here, for example, you just return here. What am I? Animate view down here. You write some code here to say when the view's y value is 0, don't animate anymore, right? Or just return. So I could say something like, let's actually do up first. So here, before we do this, we could probably do view if view, what's it called? Constraints. Where's my instance? If constraints, what's the name of our thing here? Oh, I'm thinking we're in a programmatic view, I'm sorry. We need access to the, I need an outlet to the view. I do have an outlet to the view right now. Yeah, the box. I would need an outlet to the box, right? So if we have outlet to the box, so to do, let's see if we could get it done actually. So outlet to the blue box and determine if y, if view dot origin, view dot frame dot origin dot y equal to 0. If that's the case, return. Okay, let's see if we could get that done. So here I need an outlet to my view. So IB outlet, weak var, we'll call it box, is a UI view. We'll write the code and then we'll link it up. So what do we want? We have an outlet to the box, that's done. So constraint view upward. Yulia wants her blue box to not pass the top of the device, right? So constraint view upward motion, upward movement to top of device, for example, which is 0. Well, where x is 0. where y is 0, sorry. Okay, so we haven't added to the box. Let's determine where it is. So here we'll say if box dot frame dot bounds dot frame dot origin dot y equal to 0, return. All right. So let's see that. Let's go ahead and go to the assistant editor. Assistant editor, get back to my controller and link up that box here to this guy. Let's see what we have.
Wait, can we go back to the?
Go back 1 second. Only the top for now. We won't. If you do the top, we could do the bottom. But for now, I just wanted to explain to you like how we could go ahead and achieve her goal. Her goal is I don't want my blue box to pass the top of the device or the bottom of the device. So whatever we do for the top, we'll do for the bottom. Did anybody run it yet before I run it? It still goes up. What is the Y value? Did you print out the Y value? Animate up here. Print the box's frame. What is that value when you move it up? So when you move up, what is it here? 344, 244, 144, 44, 55. Okay, coming back down, 55. Okay, sorry, we didn't have it on up here. Let's just do something here. We could just make something really quickly. We could say if y is less than whatever, 40, call it 100. Let's see what happens here. So go here, keep going up, keep going up, keep going up, up. Right? That gets us somewhere we want to be, right, everybody? So it doesn't go beyond that, but it could go down, it could go back up. Cool? Good? Okay. As long as you know what the frame is, you could be as creative as you want. Okay? Cool. So we did a bunch. And there's more. There's much more with animations, right? Animations, that's just scratching the surface. But I really wanted to show us, like, when we run an app, what happens, like, if I want to animate from a launch image, how can I manipulate that? And I showed that, right, everybody? Because that's like one of the biggest questions we get when people start animation. How can I animate my launch screen, okay? Oh, we wanted to do the button, right? Like, when I click on a button, make it just like, give some visual feedback. So we'll do that and then we'll end. So go to our button, either button for now. I'll just say the up button for now. Up button, up. Up button. When I click on the up button, I want to animate the button. Animate button. Okay, what do we want to do here? We'll say UI view.animate. Not this. Animate with duration, completion. Sorry about the spring, guys. I'll just delete that for now. Can't really see what I'm doing here. 0.3 for the duration, delay, no delay. Spring, dampen. If I don't want any dampen, I say 1.0. Initial velocity, I'll say 0. My block for my animation, options, no options. So no options is an empty array. The animations block is what I want to have done. And in my done block, I'll do some order completion here. So what do we want to animate? We want to animate self dot the button, the sender. I don't need sender, just sender. Sender dot, what do we want to actually get to? Transform, and we want to scale it up. So CG, a fin transform, a very small transformation, nothing too much. We'll say 1.2 for X and 1.2 for Y. Okay, and when it's done, we want to say sender dot, if I want to go back to the identity, what do I say? What do I say if I want to go back to the identity? CG transform dot identity, right? So CG transform dot identity. Okay.
Yeah, like, did you delete the original?
No, we didn't.
He retyped it, he redid it. It's two different.
I didn't delete the original. It still does the up and down.
Can you go down?
It's still here. Yeah. Okay, let's see what's happening here. Again, we're not going to do two buttons, just one button for us to see what's going on here. Okay, so I go to my button, I click on it. There's a small little animation there, right? We see that? And we could make it as small as we want. The thing doesn't have to be, the whole point of animation, you want it to keep it subtle. You don't want to overwhelm the user of it, okay? So very small. I would even probably decrease the number, maybe make it 1.15 or something here, right? And again, with Yulia says she doesn't want her, she doesn't want her blue box to pass the device. So right now it cannot pass the device going up. But for down, to do. Thanks to Yulia, we have a to-do item. We don't want it to go below the device, right? Yulia, you're going to implement that one, right? Right, so I don't want it to go below my device, right? Oh, we have a bug. And fix the bug. What's that? Back to this guy? Okay. This could be simpler, like all what we need here is duration and completion.
This is the completion.
Yeah, that's the completion in here.
Would you give a type to the sender?
Say that again?
For this function, would you give a type to the sender?
A type, the sender is a button. The sender is a button. Okay. Cool. So we saw a lot today. So we could implement what we saw as we go. Like for example, the weather app, you could implement simple animations for the weather app, right? Anywhere you could have subtle animations, like when the user clicks on a button or when the user favorites something, right? You could add subtle animations there. Let's just see one way you could add animations in your app. Do I have it here? Weather app. Don't copy the code, Mr. Eric. The what? Okay, so here we have our weather app, right? We saw some animation, right? We saw animation when the thing loaded, right? Let me run it again. It scrolls the screen. The zip code comes up, right? Subtle.
I didn't see that. It was too fast.
Keep your eye on it.
Oh.
Okay? Again, whatever you choose. I click on some weather. I want to favorite this photo. Right?
Just
So,
the photo that's saved?
what's that?
It's just the photo that's saved?
Yeah, just the photo that's saved. So when you go to your photo, you have the photo there. Right? So those little things you could add there. And then just feel free to be innovative. We all use apps, so we see like where small animations are. So we could add those animations. Cool? Excellent. Any questions before we end here? Go back to what part? Constraints. Which function, Mel? You got it? Cool. All right. So we'll end here. If anybody has any questions, we'll come around and help us. But we'll stop here. Question? It's gonna be up there. Cool. All right, so we'll stop here.